Hello, everyone. Hey, you're in the office with Joseph Skoda. Look where my office is today. It's amazing that this virtual format we live in, that you can be anywhere in the world and entertain, inform others, and more importantly, connect with people that you haven't seen in a long time. And our guest today is a good friend of mine from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm sure a few of you heard of Las Vegas. The big lights, the busyness, and I know things have changed in the recent months due to what was going on, but it's really good to be able to reconnect with people around the world. In fact, you can have family reunions this way now. But I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine, Mr. Guy Dawson. How you doing, Guy?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Joseph. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's been exciting. I know I met you in Toastmasters. I talk about Toastmasters a lot of my shows because it's made a big difference in me, giving me the confidence to speak, not just in person, but in front of a camera. But during this past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago or something like that, you were one of my mentors. You helped me. I'm in a position now in Toastmasters, the top dog in the district, like you were, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It's amazing how our lives transform from this wonderful organization. How did it help you? How did Toastmasters help you get to where you are today?
So many different ways, Joseph. I joined Toastmasters in 2007, and I had a goal. I had a very specific goal when I joined Toastmasters,
Yeah.
is that I wanted to become a professional speaker. And I figured I would join Toastmasters and, work on speaking. I didn't join because I had a fear of speaking or anything like that. I've been a speaker since I was a little kid. But I wanted to join to refine my skills as a speaker, and I figured I would get what I got out of Toastmasters, take it, and then go off and become a paid speaker. And what I discovered along the line, once I got into the organization and I really started to learn what it's all about, it's so much more than just improving your speaking skills. Although that is a very important aspect of it, obviously, the confidence that you gain, like you talked about a second ago, really makes a difference in so many areas of your life. So that the question you asked about where have I been impacted through Toastmasters, in what way in my life and career, is yes, the improved confidence that you get from presenting so often, and for all the opportunities that we have to learn different aspects of communication, has been very beneficial in my business and personal life. And over the time that I've been in, I just my goals have evolved into different areas beyond. So ultimately, my goal after I got in and I started learning about, there was a leadership aspect of Toastmasters, which I never even knew existed until I joined. And me being in business, I discovered around 2011, 2012, that the leadership path would probably best suit what my long-term goals were. So at that point, I decided I didn't want to be just a professional speaker. And I got on that leadership journey that you talked about that ultimately led to being district director. And so in terms of learning how to work with people, there's just so many things, Joseph, as you know, that you grow, areas that you grow in Toastmasters.
I know what's so funny, and you touched on it, is you didn't really plan to get into leadership. You just want to be better speaker, paid speaker in the future, and you're able to do both without even thinking about it, because that's the way the organization's put together to help us develop both. I think I joined in 2013, a short amount of time, and I joined. It was exciting. I had my own network marketing business and was at one of those coffee shop meetings. And we have your 30 seconds to give your elevator pitch. I was horrible. And one of the members in there grabbed me and said, here, I'll take you out for breakfast the next day. You need to come with me. And it was to a Toastmasters meeting. And I enjoyed it. It was a little bit of fun, but I stayed for the wrong reasons. I didn't care about the communication or the leadership or any of that. I was hoping to network and get more business from joining another organization, but I received so much more. and that's crazy. But anyways, I forgot to introduce, you are the CEO and founder of Classy Communications. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, Joseph, Classic Communications is a full service public relations and marketing company. And I actually established this company in 2008, which was 1 year after I joined Toastmasters. So whereas you had mentioned, and I didn't even really think about that until a few years ago. And that's when I realized that a year after I had joined Toastmasters, all of a sudden I had established this company. So right away, I was getting a lot of impact from it. You're just doing things, right? And sometimes you don't realize what it is that you're doing. So yes, I've been helping businesses, organizations, and individuals to market themselves with public relations, marketing, and broadcasting to increase brand awareness and sales since 2008. So yeah, I've been in business 12 years and had some incredible experiences related to this business, met some great people, and we built a great team of people. Again, a lot of the skills that I developed as a Toastmaster or have developed and continue to develop as a Toastmaster have been extremely helpful in being able to manage a team of people, to get a job done, customer service, just PR and marketing is my thing, and I feel really grateful that I finally found my niche. Because I've been an entrepreneur since I was 11 or 12 years old, but I had never really found my thing, and now I have, and it's a pleasure being in the business that I'm in.
Oh no, that's exciting. The way you mentioned that, because what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, you brought me on to your show when I was in Las Vegas. It might have been 3 years ago, and it was fun. We were in a little studio over by the racetrack. They had the microphone, the screen all around us, the sound man in the corner. It was a small trailer, but it was kind of exciting. And it was my first time in that kind of atmosphere. And from that, obviously, I got to meet some of your other guests, which was pretty exciting. But there was a break, or maybe we were finished, and he introduced me to some of the other up-and-coming talent in the same area. And you introduced me to a couple ladies who had their own show, and one of those ladies, her name is Maria, and shortly after she invited me on her show, Maria Pereza, and then I was a guest host on their show when the other one couldn't show up. And a year after that, we started our own company, social media shows, and that's what we're doing here. It's crazy, those connections. Where I didn't want to be a speaker, I was fearful. I got a little bit better, a couple years, of course, in Toastmasters and having people build you up rather than tear you down. And that's what I love about the organization. But the little connection that you helped me make, and that's why I'm doing this today. And because of this, I've helped probably 4 or 5 others at least start similar shows, similar podcasts, similar efforts out there. And it's that one seed from one person that can spread enormously, and we can all become better and more confident in anything we're doing. I appreciate that. I think it was also on one of your radio shows a couple of years. You're constantly out there doing something, and that's exciting, watching your growth. And I thought you mentioned when we're done with this leadership and Toastmasters, there's a life after. I used to think, being in the military, I did 21 years, and I talk a lot about there's life after the military. So I talk to veterans a lot. But this is a whole different organization, different skill sets we learn here. But there's also life after leadership. Not saying we give up on this organization, but I think the question is, why do people such as yourself and many others who been in the leadership of this organization called Toastmasters International, why, after you've already reached the highest educational levels, why you've already reached the highest leadership levels, that you still stay in? What motivates you to still stay in this organization?
I mean, as you know, Joseph, growth never stops. And there are always more opportunities, especially once you've really invested yourself in Toastmasters and decided that this is something that brings you fulfillment in your life. And for me, is I've wanted to continue that feeling, the feeling of connecting with someone. A member joins Toastmasters and you get to watch the transformation in that person. Like you, I mean, I've known you for many years, and I remember when you first got into Toastmasters, and then when you got into district leadership. And for me at this point, Joseph, it's watching other people succeed is more worthwhile in a lot of ways than the things that I am doing in my own life. You really transform. And in an organization like Toastmasters, where we touch so many people, as you had mentioned before, when I'm doing these things, when I just say, hey, Joseph, come on, be a part of the show. That's just the spirit of what we do in our organization. And so it just, Toastmasters becomes a part of who you are. And at the level that you're doing it now, being a district director, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that goes with that. I mean, and you have a lot of influence and a lot of impact on people's lives. And the thing is, once that's over, you still have a lot of that influence and impact. People look to you as a mentor, as someone that they respect and that can give them good advice for things. I can't tell you how often people reach out to me making requests about things that I didn't think would be important, but they respect your opinion. They respect what you've done, the way you've contributed to their lives. And so they want you in their lives. They seek your advice. And so that's kind of the way that it works is I'll always be a Toastmaster. I know I will be at some level, because human engagement and human growth never ends. And as long as we're humans and we're engaged in constructive processes, like being a part of an organization like Toastmasters, I'll always do it. I'll always be there. I'll always be there for my fellow Toastmasters.
No, I love that. And I think I've noticed it's probably a few years ago, I might have been an area director or something. I was happy right there, which is, as you know, area director is kind of the first step. You're managing, you're overlooking 4, 5, 6 different clubs. And that's a pretty exciting time in your life. Well, when I did that, someone came to me and asked me to be their mentor. Asked me to be I was still fairly new, 3 or 4 years in the organization, still learning those skills myself. But someone seen something in me and believed in me. And that just, I swelled inside. I wanted more. And I didn't want to let that person down. And even now, people are asking me to mentor. And that's difficult when you're moving up and get busier and busier. And I know people ask you all the time, how do you, I don't know, pick and choose who you can mentor, or what are some of your secrets to being a better mentor for others and their growth?
Well, Joseph, I think mentoring can look a lot of different ways. There are some people that you literally hands-on mentor, meet on a regular basis, talk about specific things, either related. For me, I do a lot of mentoring in my own business. I work with, I have a kind of a business model that I work with a lot of interns from UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas here in Vegas. And so with that type of mentoring, basically these are college students who come sometimes for credit, sometimes not for credit, but they want to learn more about marketing and PR. And so we basically go through an internship where we teach them, I sit with them and I teach them the things that I've learned about my industry. And that's a pretty hands-on, intense mentoring that I do with them. And then eventually they start out as interns, and then eventually they end up becoming employees with my company. I have several people who work for our company now who have come up through me. As a matter of fact, that's my whole process. Everyone who works for my company has to be an intern before they become someone who I pay, because I learn a lot about a person through that process, and they learn a lot about me. They learn, am I the kind of person that they want to invest their time in, or is this the type of company culture that they believe in? So there's a whole mentoring component in that way. Same thing in Toastmasters, as you were talking about. With some people, they really need a direct, hands-on person that they meet with regularly to talk about certain aspects of leadership or speaking or developing people skills. You know, there's so many things that we do within our organization to grow, and people have different goals. And then there are other people where it's more of, it's what I call situational mentoring. So certain situations come up and they'll just pick up the phone and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, I want to run this by you, Guy. Can you give me some feedback about this? What is your thought about this thing or that thing or that thing? And so for me, Joseph, it's really about being adaptable to different people's levels of need when it comes to mentorship. Sometimes with my commitments that I have in life to business and life and other things, I don't have time to be someone's full-time mentor where I can be there for them all the time. But I always like to let people know that at some level I'm available. And as long as you do that and you're very upfront with people, and when people get a sense, Joseph, I know you know this, when people get a sense that you really care about them and you want them to succeed, and that you're just being upfront with them, and they will work with you and they'll appreciate what you share with them. Yeah, so mentoring can look so many different ways. And one of the things that I've learned through the years is it never has to look a certain way. And you can have a big impact on someone without necessarily having to be a hands-on all the time person that you're mentoring. Mentoring is it's an ongoing process, and it's something that is so underrated in our society. And I think it should be something that should be done a lot more.
Oh, I love how you touched on mentoring is often underrated. It really is. Every step of my success, even some of my failures, was because of mentorship. Because just because someone agrees to mentor you or you beg them to, it might not be the right fit. And often we're just looking for anyone to help us get the edge in life, but we don't always take the time to interview a mentor or to make sure they're the right one. And I love the internship. That's a great deal. But we're going to go to a quick break right now, and we'll come back later and find out more, not just about classy communications, but some of the other things that Guy Dawson is involved with. And so stay tuned. You're in the office with Joseph Skoda. We'll be talking to you in a couple minutes. So don't change your channel. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Back to In the Office with Joseph Skoda, G.I. Joe Skoda. As many of you know, I'm an Air Force veteran. I had a luxurious 21-year career. Well, that's not true, but I had a 21-year career with its ups and downs. And regardless of what career path any of us choose, whether it's a job, an entrepreneurship, business owner, investor, whatever it is, we often have our ups and downs in life, and we just kind of have to go with it. But every day should be a different learning opportunity. Now, we were talking with Guy Dawson, who's right here, of course, a little bit about mentorship. And because of the people we help mentor, and internship also, not just for classy communications, but he has something else going on called the professionals. Tell us a little bit about what the professionals is all about.
We started to develop the professionals in the spring of 2019, and it was basically we were doing live workshops where I would bring friends of mine in business who were great professionals in their fields, and they would, in front of a live audience, talk about specific topics. And so what happened was, of course, I was going to continue on with the live events. I had a bunch of them actually that were going to be coming up after the first of the year. And then, of course, we started to have this huge shift in the way in our world. And so I couldn't do the live professional events anymore. But the events were really designed to help people to understand what professionalism truly is and what a big part professionalism plays in our success in so many different areas of life. You know, it's not just about, you know, I happen to be an entrepreneur and I'm in business, but professionalism crosses so many different aspects. I mean, just in the way that you relate to people in life, being a professional is something that makes you stand out amongst other people, because there are a lot of people out there who don't value professionalism. And professionalism isn't about having a nice suit or, you know, there's so many other components. Yes, being well dressed is one component of professionalism.
Have a nice hat.
So, or yeah, or the kind of cool hat that you that you wear. But being a professional means so many different things to different people. When the pandemic struck, I was just sitting around and I was thinking about different ways, understanding the type of business that I'm in, that we're going to be getting very deep into an online culture. And because we already had this platform that we were working on, I just started thinking, how can I create a group of people where we can share information about what being a professional truly means, help one another, network with one another, teach one another, very similar to what we do in Toastmasters. And so we created this group, the Professionals. It's over on Facebook, and we invite people, anyone who wants to be a part of this success group, to become a greater professional, to learn what people who are successful in their fields do to attract more customers, to have better relationships, to communicate better with people. You know, something I've noticed throughout my life and in business, Joseph, is, you know how there are certain people that you're just attracted to, and you just look at that person and you say, you admire just the way they carry themselves, the way that people talk about them when they're not around, and just the feeling that they give you when you interact with them. And so I just wanted to give people within this group opportunities to learn more about how to be that type of person, that magnetic personality. And there are certain things that people are doing that make them that way. So we're developing the professionals. We have a weekly podcast. Joseph just came on and did a great one. That was excellent podcast that we did, Joseph. You were talking about your professionalism. And so we've got these podcasts we're doing. We've got masterminds and networking groups that we're going to be developing out of that. And we have a larger platform that we're going to be building, and it's called theprofessionalslead.com. And it's going to be a website that provides great professional, personal, and spiritual development for people who truly want to be leaders in their field.
Wow, that's a lot right there. I remember when I was younger, I read the book Think and Grow Rich, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's just a different mindset of how, I think, like you said, how do we attract the right people? Magnetic sponsoring, attraction marketing, whatever you want to call it. But it's basically when we want to attract a certain kind of person, then we be that kind of person. If we want to attract a beautiful person, we want to be beautiful inside ourselves. And that's just one aspect. But if we want the right people in an organization, sometimes dress and appearance is important. And we know, you and I both know millionaires that you couldn't tell they're millionaires because they're wearing a t-shirt and holy jeans and cut off shorts or whatever. And that's kind of their personality, but they've attracted those kind of people that believed in them and enough to become very successful. Most of us couldn't pull that off. Most of us have to dress a certain way, act a certain way, wear a hat, don't wear a hat, that doesn't matter. But I noticed that in my career. Maybe you know something different. Doesn't really matter how we dress. Obviously how we hold ourselves, of course, but does the dress really matter so much?
I think it depends on the environment that you're in. I mean, like you said, there are very, very wealthy people out there, and all they wear are t-shirts and jeans, and they feel very comfortable. People know that this is the type of person that, you know what I mean? So I would say people do judge a book by its cover. You can't deny that.
Nope.
And I think it just depends on the circumstances that you're in. I know there are business environments that are very casual where no one wears a suit. And for you to come into an environment like that and you've got on a three-piece suit, and these are business people who are much more casual, sometimes that's not productive. You have to understand your audience and your environment, just like you have to understand it when you're in business. It's the same thing in relationships. You know how they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do?
Right.
I think that professionalism really has a lot to do with that. You have to understand the culture of the people that you're with and fit into that culture. You want to, but of course, being well dressed, I mean, being neatly groomed, there are certain basic things that tend to work better in terms of your professionalism. But again, that can vary from country to country, city to city, state to state. I think it's really important that you study your environment, understand your environment, and adapt yourself to that environment.
That's really good advice right there. I know when I'm doing a Toastmasters event and being in the top leadership there, top dog, I'm wearing a suit if it's an official training or a conference, even if it's virtual, because that's who I am and that's what I want to portray. Of course, your little trio meetings and other things, not so much. But when I'm speaking, I normally stand up. I'll lift the computer up or camera, whatever I have. I'll stand up and give that presence because that's who I am, whether I'm virtually or in person. And I know a few years ago, I started business, I don't know, 98, 99, maybe 2000. Seriously. And I went to a mastermind event in Cancun, Mexico. There's probably only 30, 40 of us. Amazing event. But they just helped our mindset grow. The first time I walked through hot coals and broken glass and breaking the arrow with my neck and all these crazy things that get us out of our box and what we perceive as the truth. Perceive as the truth. And I know today we have a lot of issues, political issues, race issues, some other things. How do we, I don't know, we have to be sensitive, but how do we ensure that we're not overly sensitive or too sensitive when we're talking to an audience? What are some of the things you do to, I don't know, stay on the up and up and stay safe? What do you do?
Well, for me, Joseph, it's really about being open-minded. And there are a lot of perspectives that people have to offer that can be helpful to you in your life. But for me, if I allow myself to be so convinced of any side, right? So I mean, I have, as most people do, I have very strong opinions about things. But what I try to do is, yes, I may have a very strong opinion about something, but what I try to do is as strong as that opinion is, I also like to have a counter opinion. Keep myself open to the possibility that I don't know exactly what it is that I'm talking about, and being okay with that. It's okay not to have to always be right. That's something that I've learned. And the more convinced that I am that I'm right, Joseph, that I am completely right, that there's no other perspective. I remember many years ago, a guy said to me, be careful of having a black and white perspective on life, and life is more like a shade of gray than it is black and white. And I have found that to be true. Absolutes in life can really cause you a lot of pain. So for me, in dealing with lots of different people, I may not agree with everything it is that you have to say necessarily, but if I can keep my mind open enough to hear what it is that you have to say, there can be tremendous benefits from both of us. One of the things that I've learned about people, Joseph, is when they realize that you've just completely thrown up a shield, or you're completely not open. And I've done it, myself in life with people. When people suspect that you are not listening to anything that they have to say, or that you don't respect their opinion in any way, they really tune you out. But if you're seen as a person who maybe you don't agree exactly with everything, I mean, that's one of the great things about people. If everybody was exactly like me, this would not be a good world. We need people. We all have opinions and we all have thoughts and they all have validity. And so when I can remind myself of that in my relationships with other people, is that they've got a point of view. By the way, there's an excellent book that talks a lot about this. You know, you were talking about personal development, and it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which is just one of the greatest people skill books I think that has ever been written. But he talks a lot in there about that. It's looking at things from the other person's point of view. You know, can we take the time? We don't, doesn't mean we have to agree with it all, but there's so much benefit from just looking at things from other people's perspectives in the way that you communicate. And when people see that you're at least open to that there could be some validity in it, it's amazing how your communication can improve.
Those are some really valid points. Actually, as you know, I do some training up and down California. I get called every now and then to do some training for corporations. And one of the topics they wanted me to cover more and more last year anyways was emotional intelligence. Why do we think this way? Why are we critical over here? Why do we believe a certain way? And most of it goes back to childhood. And a lot of times, why do we hate, I don't know, chocolate milk, for instance? Well, actually, I love chocolate milk, but whatever it is, it often goes some episode or some experience, and oftentimes very young, and we don't realize that. And when we can break through and find out why we act a certain way around certain people or certain things, then we can win friends and influence people when we discover inside what makes us tick and how we work on things like that. And I think a lot of us could agree, well, we're obviously molded by our environment, our childhood, obviously in the beginning, our parents, siblings, all those things. But when we become an adult, some of us are becoming adult earlier or later than others. 18 may be legal, but some are about 25 years old before they figure things out. But when we decide to become an adult, we have to really grasp that we're taking responsibility for our own actions. And we should take responsibility at an earlier age, but we got that cop out and blaming our parents or we can get away with things. But what is meaning an adult and taking responsibilities for your own actions, your life, mean to you exactly?
You know, you brought up a good point, Joseph, about that we're all on our own journey and it's a process. Becoming an adult is a real, is a real process. Because I think people become adults in different areas. Some people, you know, I think we all have our areas where we maybe become adults very early for some people. You know, maybe financially you're super successful in that area earlier in life. But then maybe on the emotional side, maybe you're not. So, you know, the evolution of becoming an adult is like a lifelong. I think you die and maybe you're not even completely an adult. But, you know, what I would say is one of the key things I think that does help the process along is learning to take responsibility for your life and learning how to do that. You know, in a world where sometimes I think being a victim is something that's really celebrated. And I don't think that serves the people of our world, is the celebration of victimhood. I just don't see how that is something that helps a person to become a more successful adult. Because if staying a victim is something that really, I think, disempowers you. So if there's one thing that I would say for me is the more I focus on taking responsibility for my choices and my actions in life and being okay with making mistakes, you know, knowing I've been making mistakes my whole life. So that's just, especially being an entrepreneur, you actually making mistakes is like the greatest thing you can ever do as an entrepreneur, you know, because I make money from making mistakes. But if I make the mistake and I blame someone else for it, then I don't make more money. But if I make the mistake and I take responsibility for the mistake that I made, I do make more money. So I think it's the constant working towards taking responsibility for my own life that leads to a greater sense of adulthood. Yeah, adulthood looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different people, but adults do tend to take responsibility for their lives at a higher level, and just working towards that constantly, I think, is very important.
Those are really good points. It's interesting how you keep bringing up entrepreneurship. Why did you decide to go that route rather than the majority of people get jobs somewhere? Why did you decide to work for yourself? What were the deciding factors for you?
I became an entrepreneur at 11 years old, kind of by accident. I was just walking down the street in my neighborhood one day, and one of my neighbors flagged me down, and he said, "Hey, would you be willing to come and cut my lawn, and I'll pay you to do it?" So this was back, Joseph. I know you and I are going to give our age by, but when we still had push mowers.
I remember them.
So, my dad, we had a gas mower that we used, but my dad said I was too young. He was afraid I'd stick my hand in there or something.
Oh, you had to use that one.
So he agreed. He says, "Okay, you can cut this guy's lawn just as long as you use a push mower." So I was literally, this is 1981. I mean, that was when I was 11 years old. So I literally got out there and I was cutting this guy's lawn, edged, with the hand edgers before we even had the weed whackers that would edge. I literally had a hand edger. I cut the edges out, cut the lawn, and that was the beginning. And the guy paid me every week to cut his lawn. So what happened was other neighbors, they saw what a great job I was doing for the guy, and I started getting all these other jobs. And then I got into car washing. So I started washing people's cars so my Saturdays and Sundays, I was engaging in entrepreneurship. And that's the first way that I learned how to make money. And I think that type of influence at that age, understanding that I could create my own income, because 11 years old, you can't really get a job. I mean, I know there were people, they were paper boys and things like that back then, but
That was me.
really didn't have an interest. Yeah, right. And that, I think you're really shaped by the way that you make money when you start your life. So if you start out as an employee, generally people, they have a mindset of an employee. Not to say that you can't change it, but the first money that you make, if you make it entrepreneurially, I think it influences you for the rest of your life. And so for me, putting together a business deal, creating something that's of value to other people, and being able to present it to them, it's as natural as anything. And I would never trade my entrepreneurial experience and the things that you learn, how you learn about life as an entrepreneur is it's just the school of hard knocks. Entrepreneurship is the school of hard knocks, and I'm just constantly working on becoming a graduate and and a PhD in the school of hard knocks, and that's what attracts me to entrepreneurship.
Oh, I love that. I mean, obviously, I cut lawns and deliver newspapers and babysat and some other thing. It was crazy world we lived in, and I had my career in the military, but I went back to entrepreneurship, and I love that. Even though I have a PhD in real life, that didn't necessarily prepare me for real life. Real life is what you're doing on your own and admitting to those mistakes and growing from them. Well, I want to just know, before I let you go and our audience go, I want to know, what's the vision for Guy Dawson Enterprises? What's your vision after what you're doing now?
Well, Joseph, I just turned 50 a few weeks ago, which is it's just a phenomenal, it's been a great experience being 50. But I mean, to make it to 50 years on this planet, and for me, it's really about being of service. I mean, it's such a simple thing. I mean, I enjoy being of service to other human beings. So I just see myself at one way or another, either as an entrepreneur or as a part of an organization like Toastmasters, We have another organization that we're developing called the Cause Marketing Chamber of Commerce out here in Las Vegas, which this is going to be, it already is because we've been around for a while, but we're getting all of our ducks in a row now. And this is an organization that brings businesses and nonprofits together to create synergistic relationships that benefit the community. So for me, that type of service, just being around people like you, the professionals, it's about people that are just out there doing it and want to make the world a better place and want to be all they can be, like like the slogan in the military used to be.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's my life, Joseph. That's my life.
I love it very much. I appreciate you taking time to share a little bit of your story with us. How can people find you? A specific website they can go to and find out more about what you're all about?
Well, yes, you can Google me, or you can Google Guy Dawson, or you can visit our company website, classycommunications.net. A lot of great information over there. We've got some really outstanding blogs that we're creating right now that give you some great fundamental information about different aspects of public relations and marketing that I think under these circumstances that we're living with the pandemic and our world going online, reading some of this content, I think could be very helpful in enabling you to be more successful in your business. So yes, visit classycommunications.net to learn more about our services, and or join the professionals group. Just look us up on Facebook. Joseph and I are members of this group, and there are some very, very successful people out there who all want to grow and learn. Although you don't have to be super successful to be a part of the professionals. It's that you have the aspiration of growing in your personal, professional, and spiritual life. That's the reason why. So yes, just and of course, I appreciate the opportunity, Joseph, to be a part of your show. And like I had mentioned before, man, I really have enjoyed watching your evolution as a human being. In the time that you've been in Toastmasters.
Thank you once again, everyone. And we'll have some of those links and that information below on our video. But definitely, I appreciate you and everyone tuning in. And please like and follow our social media shows, sites, and our website, as well as our different YouTube channels. And we appreciate each and every one of you. If you have a story, please look us up. Socialmediashows.com. Look up information. But you have yourself a great day. Go out there and make a difference. I salute each and every one of you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye. If you like our channel on any social media platform, Instagram, of course, Facebook, like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts and join our team. Anyways, we appreciate you staying tuned week after week, day after day, because we continuously build up our network to bring to you what you're asking for. Have a great day.